Maybe dying will make you interesting. That's what my mom said, half a laugh, half a sneer while I was lying in a hospital bed, fighting for air. I still hear her voice echoing in my head, sharper than the beeping monitors around me. I wanted to believe I was delirious from the fever, but no, it was real. I'm Claire Parker, 27 years old, and in that sterile ICU room, I realized how invisible I was to the people who were supposed to love me. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, my chest burned with every breath, and all I could think was, my own mother laughed at me while I was dying. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from her. Stop being dramatic. We already paid for Hawaii. Another notification, my brother Jason's beach selfie. They were sipping cocktails in the sun while I counted seconds between heartbeats. I remember lying there, clutching the thin hospital blanket as if it could anchor me to the world. The machines hummed and clicked in rhythm, reminding me that something beyond my own strength was keeping me alive. But as my eyes burned with fever, my thoughts drifted back to everything I had done for my family. For years, I was their safety net. When Dad walked out and never looked back, Mom leaned on me. You're the strong one, Claire. You'll take care of us, she'd say, as if it were my duty. At 22, when my friends were saving up for their first cars or vacations, I was wiring money every month to cover the mortgage. I can still picture the kitchen table back home, the chipped wooden edges, the faint smell of burnt coffee. Mom would slide bills across the surface toward me, her nails tapping impatiently. Just until I get back on my feet, she'd insist. But she never did. Somehow, there was always another bill, another crisis. When Jason turned 20, he wanted a car. Not a used one, not something cheap. He begged, sulked, and eventually Mom cornered me. He's your little brother. He needs to feel normal. Don't you want him safe on the road? I signed the loan. Jason drove off in his shiny blue sedan without so much as a thank you, blasting music so loud I could hear it 2 blocks away. The truth is, I was proud back then. Proud that I could provide what they couldn't. I told myself I was building a stronger family, that one day they'd see me not just as their lifeline, but as their daughter and sister who gave everything. But somewhere along the way, the gratitude never came. Instead, it became expected. When Mom wanted a little boost of confidence at 52, I handed her $15,000 for cosmetic surgery. She kissed my cheek, called me her angel, then disappeared for a week-long spa retreat without inviting me. I told myself it didn't matter, that love doesn't always come wrapped in thank yous. But deep down, I was running on empty. And now, lying in this cold hospital bed, IV in my arm, oxygen mask strapped to my face, I realized how much of myself I had spent for people who couldn't even bother to visit when I might be dying. My chest tightened as I replayed Mom's laugh. Maybe dying will make you interesting. How could she? How could a mother look at her child and find amusement in their suffering? I pressed my hand against my journal, the little notebook I'd begged the nurse to bring me. The pages blurred as tears soaked through the lines. My handwriting shook, but I wrote it anyway. I gave them everything, and they gave me nothing but silence and cruelty. If I live through this, things will change. They have to. The third night in the ICU was the hardest. My fever had spiked so high the nurses whispered near my bed, their voices muffled under masks. I drifted in and out of consciousness, chasing fragments of dreams that bled into nightmares. Every time my eyes opened, I hoped to see Mom's face, or Jason slouched in the visitor's chair, pretending he didn't care but still being there. But the chair stayed empty. When my strength returned enough to hold my phone, I dialed Mom's number. The call rang twice before she picked up. "Claire?" she said, her voice loud with background chatter. I could hear an announcement echoing, a rolling suitcase clicking against the tile. Mom," I croaked, my throat dry. "I'm in the ICU. The doctor said—" "We're at the airport," she cut in, like she was updating me about the weather. "The trip's already paid for. We'll see you when we're back." And then she hung up. Just like that. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. A hollow ache spread through me that no antibiotic drip could treat. I wanted to believe I'd misheard, that it was the fever twisting her words. But moments later, Instagram buzzed with a new story. Jason at the boarding gate, grinning with a drink in his hand. Caption: Paradise, here we come. I shut my eyes, but the images kept flashing. By the second day of their trip, my feed was flooded with reminders. Mom posed in a brand new swimsuit, arm around Jason, her caption reading, "Living my best life at 50, 2. Jason clinked glasses at sunset with strangers, tagging the resort. Not a single mention of me lying in a hospital bed, wired to machines. When the fever finally broke on day 3, I typed a message into the family group chat. "Hey guys, I'm stable now, but still very sick. The doctors think I'll be here for at least another week. Could someone please come? I'm terrified and alone." I watched the 3 dots appear. My heart leapt finally. Then the reply came. From Mom. "Stop being so dramatic, Claire. If you can text, you're fine. We'll come when you reimburse us for the vacation time we'd lose." 10 minutes later, Jason chimed in, "Lol. Mom's right. You've always wanted attention. Maybe dying will make you fascinating for once." The words punched through me harder than the needles in my veins. I read them again and again, until they blurred. My pulse monitor sped up, beeping frantically, and a nurse rushed in. She thought my body was failing. She didn't know it was my heart breaking. That night, I made a silent vow. I would never beg them again. If they could abandon me now, they would abandon me always. And the next time I picked up my phone, it wouldn't be to plead, it would be to take back every single thing they had stolen. When the fever eased, clarity came like a cruel sunrise. I sat propped up against stiff hospital pillows, scrolling through the messages again. Each word burned into me. "Stop being so dramatic. Maybe dying will make you fascinating for once." I wanted to believe it was a bad joke, that maybe Jason had been drunk, or Mom had been flustered. But no, the emojis, the laughing tone, it was deliberate. They found humor in my pain. I stared at the IV needle taped to my arm. The tubing pulsed faintly with each drip. My life was literally measured in drops, while my family toasted cocktails in Hawaii. I remembered every bill I had paid, every sacrifice I made. The long nights coding at my job so Jason could drive that flashy car. The extra shifts I worked so Mom could strut into her plastic surgeon's office with a confident smile. Every time they cried broke, I pulled out my wallet. And what did I get? Silence. Ridicule. A laugh at my deathbed. I pressed my hand against my chest. For the first time, the pain inside wasn't just from pneumonia, it was betrayal. Something cracked open. Not broken exactly. Shifted. Like a puzzle piece finally sliding into place, revealing the picture I'd been blind to all along. They never loved me for me. They loved me for what I gave. The realization was terrifying and liberating all at once. That night, as machines beeped softly around me, I reached for my notebook. My handwriting was shaky, but I wrote a list. At the top, what I control. The mortgage payments, the credit cards in my name, the utilities, all signed under me to boost their credit. The family phone plan, Jason's insurance, every single thread tying me to them. I stared at that list until tears blurred the ink. Then I whispered to myself, "It ends now." The next morning, I asked the nurse to bring me my laptop. She hesitated, but I begged, promising I was stable enough to sit up. With trembling hands, I logged into my bank account. The glowing screen reflected off my pale skin, but I felt more alive than I had in weeks. One by one, I began severing ties, canceling automatic transfers, freezing cards, clicking through pages with a steadiness I didn't know I had left. Each confirmation felt like a breath of clean air filling my damaged lungs. When exhaustion hit, I closed the laptop and let it rest on my lap. I wasn't finished, but I had started. For once, the power wasn't in their hands, it was in mine. I leaned back against the pillows, eyes wet but fierce. "If they want paradise," I murmured to the empty room, "they can pay for it themselves." The morning sun leaked through the blinds of my ICU room, stripes of gold on sterile white sheets. I balanced my laptop on my knees, hands trembling as I dialed the bank's customer service. "Hello, this is Claire Parker. I need to report a card stolen," I whispered, my voice raspy. The woman on the line asked me to verify my identity. Once confirmed, she asked, "Do you want us to cancel all active transactions linked to this card?" I closed my eyes. Jason's groceries, Mom's gas money, their dinners out, all charged to that little piece of plastic with my name. Yes, I said firmly. Cancel everything. Immediately. There was a pause, then a polite, done. The relief that surged through me was unlike anything I'd felt. For the first time, their grip on me loosened. Next, I logged into the utility portal. Electricity, gas, water, every account registered under my name. I clicked, terminate service. Effective immediately. I imagined the lights flickering out in our family home, the air conditioning humming to a halt. I imagined Mom clutching her pearls, Jason yelling into the dark, and for once, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram. Jason had just posted another story. He was on a beach chair, sunglasses reflecting turquoise water, captioned, "Living the dream." My lips twisted. Let him enjoy the dream. The nightmare was waiting back home. I called the bank again, this time about the mortgage. I'm a co-borrower on the loan, I explained to the officer. I need to withdraw my name. That will require either full repayment or refinancing under the other party's name, he said. Perfect, I answered. Send them the notice. When I hung up, my chest pounded not from illness this time, but from adrenaline. I'd just pulled the rug out from under everything they'd built on my shoulders. By noon, exhaustion swallowed me. I shut the laptop and leaned back, staring at the IV drip. Guilt tried to creep in, whispering that I was cruel. But then I remembered Jason's text. Maybe dying will make you fascinating. No, this wasn't cruelty. This was justice. Hours later, my phone rang. Mom's voice blared through the speaker, shrill and panicked. Claire, the card isn't working. I'm at dinner, and it was declined. Fix it right now. I let the silence stretch before answering softly. Maybe call the bank. I already did. What do you mean you did? We're in Hawaii with no money. I thought you paid for it yourselves, I said, and hung up. For the first time in years, I lay back and smiled. The first call came at 6:47 p.m., just as I'd managed to sip half a bowl of hospital soup. My phone buzzed across the tray, vibrating so hard it rattled the spoon. Claire! Mom's voice cracked through the speaker, sharp and desperate. The card was declined at dinner. They made us wash dishes in the back. Can you believe that? Call the bank and fix this right now. I closed my eyes, resting my head against the pillow. Maybe call them yourself, Mom. I did. They said the account was closed. Claire Elise Parker, don't you dare play games. We're stranded in Hawaii, without money. Her panic should have made me feel guilty. Instead, it felt like the universe evening the scales. Funny, I murmured. I thought you paid for the trip yourselves. I hung up before she could answer. 10 minutes later, Jason's name lit up my phone. I answered on the third ring. You psycho, he shouted, his voice shaking with rage. The hotel says we need to pay for another night and we can't. You left us stranded. Maybe ask your new girlfriend, I said flatly. The one from the couple's massage video. She looked generous. You've been stalking our social media? I almost laughed. I've been lying in a hospital bed while you sip cocktails. There's a difference. His roar echoed before he slammed the call shut. Dad tried next. His tone was smoother, like a salesman easing into a pitch. Sweetheart, listen. There's been a misunderstanding. We can explain everything when we get back. But for now, please just reinstate the card so we can book flights home. I pressed the phone to my ear, waiting, letting his calm voice wash over me. For a second, I almost broke. Then I remembered lying in the ICU, the beep of machines, Mom's laugh, Jason's emoji. No misunderstanding, Dad. You chose a vacation over me. Live with it. The line went dead silent before he sighed. Claire, click. I ended the call. That night, the phone buzzed every 10 minutes. Mom alternating between sobbing and screaming. Jason sending strings of insults. Selfish, crazy, ungrateful. Dad begging with reason that sounded more like manipulation. I turned the phone face down, closed my eyes, and for the first time in years, slept soundly. When I woke, pale morning light streamed through the blinds. The phone was full of missed calls and voicemails, each more frantic than the last. I played one from Mom. Claire, please. We don't have anywhere to sleep. Do you want your own mother on the streets? Is that what you want? I gave you life, and now you repay me by leaving me homeless in a foreign country? I deleted it without listening further. Another from Jason. You'll regret this. You'll come crawling back when you realize you've got no one else. Families fight, Claire. That's what this is. A fight. Don't make it worse. His voice cracked on the last word. Though he tried to sound tough, I whispered into the empty room. Families show up when it matters. You didn't. The calls kept coming all morning. At one point, I answered, just to hear Mom's voice again. Claire, she sobbed, we're your family. Please, we'll do anything. Just help us. Her desperation might have worked before, but now it sounded hollow, like an actress begging for an encore. I stayed quiet. Claire, she whispered, as if she could tug me back with just my name. Finally, I spoke. When I begged you to come to the hospital, you laughed. When I asked for comfort, you demanded money. This is me returning the favor. I ended the call. That evening, the nurse brought me fresh linens. As she smoothed the sheets, she noticed my red eyes. Rough day? She asked gently. I swallowed. The roughest. But maybe the first day I finally chose myself. Her hand brushed mine, just a fleeting gesture, but it steadied me. That night, their cries echoed only through my voicemail, not my heart. For the first time, I felt stronger than the tubes and monitors keeping me alive. When I was finally discharged from the hospital, I thought maybe the distance would quiet them. I was wrong. The first morning back in my apartment, I woke to a pounding at the door. My heart leapt into my throat. I half expected the landlord or a delivery. But when I peered through the peephole, I saw them. Mom, Dad, Jason. I froze, the old reflexes tugging at me. Open the door, let them in, smooth things over. But I remembered the texts, the laughter, the cocktails under Hawaiian skies while I lay strapped to tubes. I tightened my grip on the knob, forced my voice steady. What do you want? Claire, honey, please. Mom's voice cracked, shaky but practiced. Let us in. We need to talk. Against my better judgment, I opened the door a sliver. Their faces told the story before their mouths moved. Mom's mascara was smeared like she'd staged tears. Dad carried a folder stuffed with papers. Jason shifted from foot to foot, hands jammed in his hoodie, eyes red-rimmed. We're sorry, Mom began, stepping closer, her perfume cloying. I wasn't thinking. I was scared. I didn't mean what I said. I held her gaze. Then why did you post 47 photos of your vacation while I begged for help in the ICU? Her face faltered, but she rallied quickly. We were trying to stay positive, pretend things were okay. By laughing at me? My voice shook, anger bubbling up. By telling me maybe dying would make me interesting? Jason piped up, voice defensive. It was a joke. You know how I joke, Claire. Don't be so dramatic. I turned on him, the fury sharp in my throat. Do you think it was funny watching the monitor beep as my heart struggled? Do you think it was hilarious to imagine your sister gasping for air? He dropped his gaze. Dad stepped forward, holding out the folder. Look, sweetheart. These are our bills, the foreclosure notice, the car payments. If we lose the house, our credit is ruined. We'll have nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before you chose cocktails over your daughter's life. We're a family, he pressed, desperation bleeding into his voice. Families help each other. No. My hand shook as I pointed to the door. Family shows up. Family doesn't mock their daughter for almost dying. Mom's tears flowed faster now, dripping down her cheeks. Claire, I gave you life. Don't throw us away. I felt my chest tighten, memories of childhood flickering, Mom braiding my hair before school, Dad cheering at my graduation, Jason riding his bike down the street. But then, like shards of glass, the hospital came back. The texts, the laughter, the empty chair by my bed. I straightened my spine. You already threw me away. Now I'm just finally letting go. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Mom lunged forward, clutching my arm. Please, Claire, don't do this. We can't survive without you. I wrenched free, my voice breaking but resolute. That's not my problem anymore. I stepped back and opened the door wider, not to invite them in, but to show them out. Get off my property. For a moment, none of them moved. Then, Jason muttered something under his breath and stormed down the hall. Dad followed slowly, shoulders slumped, folder clutched to his chest. Mom lingered, mascara streaked, her face twisted with anger beneath the tears. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You think you're strong, but you're nothing without family." I met her eyes, steady. I think I just proved the opposite. I shut the door, leaned my back against it, and slid down until I was sitting on the cool floorboards. My whole body shook, tears spilling hot down my cheeks. Not because I doubted myself, because for the first time, I had stood against them and not bent. It hurt like hell, but it was also the most alive I'd felt in years. I thought slamming the door would be the end of it. That maybe, just maybe, they'd finally get the message. But if there's one thing my family knows, it's how to turn a wound into a weapon. It started online. One morning, as I sipped lukewarm coffee in my quiet apartment, my phone pinged with a dozen notifications. Screenshots filled my inbox. Friends, coworkers, even an old college roommate sent them. There it was. Mom's Facebook post. A long, rambling paragraph under a photo of her looking haggard. "My daughter is mentally unstable. Ever since her illness, she's been lashing out, cutting us off, abandoning her own family. Please pray for her. We're worried for her safety." Jason had commented beneath it. "She needs serious help. If she doesn't get it soon, she'll destroy herself and everyone around her." I stared at the words until my coffee went cold. Mentally unstable, abandoning family. They were rewriting the story, turning their cruelty into my crime. The rage was volcanic. My hands shook as I typed back, then stopped. No, I wouldn't play their game online. Instead, I called Michael Turner, the lawyer I'd worked with when I redid my will. His calm, steady voice was an anchor. "Claire," he said after I explained everything, "this is harassment, defamation, and emotional abuse. We can petition for a restraining order." The thought made me nervous. Dragging this into court meant everyone would know. But then I remembered lying in the ICU, Mom laughing, Jason's text flashing with a smirking emoji. They had already stripped me bare. What did I have left to lose? "Yes," I whispered. "Do it." The hearing was scheduled 2 weeks later. Walking into that courtroom, my legs nearly buckled. I wore the only blazer I owned, clutching a folder so tight my knuckles whitened. Michael stood beside me, reassuring. Across the aisle sat Mom in a navy dress, mascara perfect this time, eyes wide with practiced sorrow. Dad beside her, solemn, playing the role of the reasonable parent. Jason leaned back, hoodie half-sipped, smirking like this was all beneath him. When the judge entered, Mom launched into her performance. "Your Honor," she began, voice trembling. "My daughter suffered a breakdown after a minor illness. We tried to help, but she's punished us ever since. She cut off our finances, left us destitute, and now spreads lies about her own family." Jason chimed in. "She blocked our numbers, won't answer us, and we're worried what she might do. She's not well." I wanted to scream, but Michael placed a hand on my arm. "Wait," he whispered. When it was my turn, I rose. My knees shook, but my voice found its steel. "Your Honor," I said, placing my evidence on the bench. "These are screenshots of my family's messages while I was in the ICU. Here's my mother laughing at me, my brother telling me maybe dying would make me interesting. And here are their vacation, photos, cocktails, beaches, sunsets posted while I fought for my life alone." The judge's brow furrowed as he flipped through the stack. I continued, my voice cracking but strong. "They didn't just abandon me, they mocked me. And when I finally stopped paying their bills, they started harassing me, smearing my name, and showing up at my home. I am asking not for revenge, but for protection." Silence filled the room, broken only by the scratch of the judge's pen. Finally, he looked up. "Temporary restraining order granted. A hearing for a permanent injunction will be set." The gavel struck, sharp and final. As we left the courtroom, Mom lunged toward me, her voice shrill. "Claire, please! We can fix this as a family. We don't need lawyers." I met her eyes, cold. "You made lawyers necessary the moment you chose cruelty over compassion." Arlie. Security guided them out. For the first time, I felt the weight lifting, not gone, but loosening. That night, I sat at my desk, pen hovering over my journal. The tears came, but they weren't the hot, stinging tears of betrayal. They were the quiet tears of release. For once, I wasn't just surviving, I was reclaiming my life. A year has passed since that day in court, and sometimes I still wake up to the phantom sound of heart monitors, but instead of panic, I feel gratitude. Gratitude that I survived. Gratitude that I finally chose myself. My life now looks nothing like it did then. I live in a small townhouse on the edge of the city, with wide windows that let the morning light pour in. Ryan moved in last spring, bringing with him a kind of quiet steadiness I never knew I needed. On weekends, we take our golden retriever, Daisy, hiking through the hills. The air feels cleaner when no one is tugging at my soul for money or favors. Mom, Dad, and Jason are ghosts now present only through whispers I sometimes hear from distant relatives. I don't ask for updates. I don't need to know. Their absence isn't a wound anymore. It's a scar, healed over, a reminder of what I will never allow again. Tonight, I'm writing on the balcony, the city lights glittering below. Ryan is in the kitchen, humming while he stirs pasta sauce. Daisy snores softly at my feet. For the first time, I feel like I belong somewhere, not because I bought my way in, but because I am loved for simply existing. I think back to the ICU, to that weak, broken girl who clutched her journal and whispered promises to herself. She didn't know if she'd make it out alive, but she made a choice. She chose to stop bleeding herself dry for people who never cared. That choice saved me. So if Mom was right, if dying really did make me interesting, then let this be my answer. I didn't die. I lived. I built a life beyond their reach, a life filled with laughter that doesn't sting, with love that doesn't demand, with family I chose. And every time I breathe in the crisp night air, I remind myself, the best revenge isn't anger, it's peace. The best answer to betrayal isn't begging, it's freedom. And the best decision I ever made was the simplest one. I picked myself.